This is Scratch Your Own Itch, the one show that delivers the conversations that we're afraid to share, but need to. This show is all about creating a life worth living. I'm Logan Tyler Nelson, and I'm your host. So, you're going to hear conversations with creators and entrepreneurs talk about what they do, their current and past traumas, how they became who they are, and what they are truly curious about. This is the show where we talk about the things we think about a lot, but need to talk about more. Please take note that this show is not a substitute for actually creating a life worth living, because this show will stir your beliefs, make you question what it means to create a life worth living. So my promise to you is to always give you one question to answer for yourself today to start turning your dreams into a reality. So, my curiosity question for you is, what does it mean to be irreplaceable? Like really, so irreplaceable that nobody can take over your job. Meaning no one else can steal your message. No one else can say, oh wait, that's Apple's laptop. Or that's Microsoft, because that's exactly what those guys do. And if this resonates with you at all, then stick around, because my guest and I are going to have some fun and share some insights on how to stand out in your space. So, without further ado, give a warm welcome to the one and only Jaime Cohen.
Thanks for having me. So great to be here, Logan.
Yeah, likewise. So we're just going to have fun with this one today. I would really love to talk to you and kind of do a conversation instead of an interview, but do a conversation all around just like how to stand out and message yourself on LinkedIn, to where this platform, LinkedIn, it can be like fire. It can be used for good, but it can also be used for bad. What have you seen where it's kind of been used for good in your story and used for bad? Like what?
I think that it's an amazing way to build relationships, because the way that business is being done is changing. It used to be very transactional, but with the birth of new technologies and the speed at which they're evolving, transactional relationships don't work anymore. You need to have closer relationships where your goal is actually to solve the problem of the client, or you provide them with a product that helps them alleviate some tension or strain in some way. So that actually relates back to your question about being irreplaceable. The whole idea of being irreplaceable is making sure that if you're working for somebody and you're worried about losing your job, make sure that you are a part of your boss's daily life. You do something, or you do a few things every single day that makes their life easier. And this is something that you can train yourself to do using LinkedIn. So there are a lot of people posting a lot of content about struggles that they've been through, or celebrating wins that they've had. But the content that really does the best is the content that solves a problem for someone. So understanding who your target audience is, what they need, the language that they speak, and then providing them with solutions to those problems that they voiced. As far as bad goes, I think there are trolls everywhere. But LinkedIn is a pretty supportive place. I think that as long as you're engaging in the conversation, you should be okay. People will be there to support you when you're spending time building a community and engaging with other people's content as well as your own.
Yeah, that's kind of the key that I've seen is like, you got to engage. You can't just post and then leave it. Like, I mean,
right.
there's just, it's almost like your posts will get better if you just actually start commenting, start really commenting. That's why I love when I see your comments and I see Brian Schulman's comments and other people's comments that are just long, instead of this like, oh, great, awesome, sweet, great job. But like actually people taking time to write a nice thought-provoking comment. And that's what the big difference that I see on that platform. I'm curious, what kind of times do you like to post? Is there like a time that you like to stick to when to post content and when not to?
It really is different for everyone. So it depends on who your audience is. So my content does best usually in the early morning before, well, not the early morning, but the morning before 10 a.m. Eastern time, or in the evening between 6 and 9 p.m. Eastern. So one is catching, so it's posting at times where the worldwide audience has access to your content. So either people are just about to go to bed or people are just waking up. That way the most eyes are on your content. But it really just depends. A lot of people have they really get a lot of engagement during the middle of the day. So really what you have to do is just test. That's what I tell everyone, is post every day for a week, post at different times, and see which content does the best. And that is how you'll be able to determine what works best for you. But really, you know, if you build a strong community and you're spending a lot of time engaging with other people's content, whenever you post, your community will be there to support you because they'll be waiting because you spent so much time supporting them.
Yeah, that's what I have realized is there's some people who won't tag anybody in their things, and you'll still see a ton of engagement happening on that.
Absolutely.
And it just goes to show you that you can almost be passionate about anything, whatever you invest yourself into. Because I kind of want to change roads a little bit and talk about this P word that I think a lot of people are scared about, is passion.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people probably out there that are like, you know, yeah, I'm on passion. I'm on that passion road right now where I'm trying to find it. What's up with that? What's your belief in passion? Do you think you have to just invest into something and you find your passion, or do you think there really is one thing for everybody out there that they need to just keep on working on?
I don't think that there's one specific thing that is out there for everyone, just like I don't believe that there's one specific person. I believe that there are different things and different people at different points in your life during different parts of your journey. So sticking to something is a great way to become an expert. And when you're an expert, that makes you stand out if you're able to communicate your message. The best thing to do is try a lot of different things when you have time, when you're not connected to anything, where you have flexibility. So that way you're able to see what works, what doesn't, and eventually find something that is it makes your life balanced. You find equilibrium. I think that a lot of people, when they think of passion, they're thinking of fireworks and this fire that just keeps you alive and keeps you going. But the truth is that passion is wonderful and it's important, but passion doesn't equal endurance. Grit equals endurance. So whatever it is that you choose, I always say, as long as it's something that you don't hate or you don't dislike, it's something that you can find passion in, depending on what it is that you love. If you love helping people, if you love making money, if you love building things, if you're doing something, even if it's not the exact thing, if you're doing something that aligns with what moves you, you'll be able to find your passion and you'll be able to use that to push you forward.
I love it. I love that so much. I'm wondering for you, Jamie, what kind of sacrifices you've taken in your journey to sort of reach the success that you have had. What kind of sacrifices do you feel like you have to really, really just kind of swallow, because you're like, all right, I have this goal and I'm going to go after it?
Well, I think my journey has been a lot different than the average person because I tried a million different things and spread myself a little bit thin. So in that sense, the sacrifice was years of isolation where I was just reading, studying, doing what I had to do to absorb the most knowledge that I could and to develop my skill. So in anything, the sacrifice is time and then connection. But what I found is that during the time where I wasn't connecting with other people, that was a very difficult time. And had I had a better balance, I think things would have been a little bit better. But I think when you're talking about entrepreneurship, the sacrifice is always going to be your time. So you really need to learn how to delegate time to yourself versus, delegating tasks and setting time aside for all the things you need to do, because you will, if you make the time, you have the time. If you don't have a schedule, you will be all over the place.
So that's a great point to bring up, is that really everyone has the same amount of time in the day, but it depends on what your priorities are. Are you afraid though that like maybe down the road you actually start doing like these big projects and you're not able to put in the same amount of time on LinkedIn as you'd like?
Well, I think one thing to consider, LinkedIn is in its infancy right now as far as the culture we're seeing on the platform. I've never seen a platform where people were this supportive, maybe Instagram in the very beginning, but the conversation wasn't like this. But with every single platform that I've seen grow and develop, in the beginning, there is a lot of fire, a lot of people connecting, a lot of things happening. But over time, as more people join in, it becomes a lot more complicated. So if LinkedIn is your only lead funnel or lead generation, then you're going to be in trouble eventually. So my goal is to engage with great content, to be as supportive as I can, but also focus enough time on myself and my business that when things change, which they inevitably will, that I'll be prepared and I'll be able to support other people who may not be.
I love it. I love it. So I want to go into scratching the surface curiosity questions, where these are just like 30 seconds or less type answers.
Sure.
So the first one is, if you could sit down with anybody on a bench, who would it be and why?
I think that's hard because there are so many incredible people. But I think if I could have, a few more minutes with my mom, she would be the one that I would sit down with, because she had such a fund of knowledge in so many different areas. And I have so many unanswered questions. And I'd love to be able to sit down with her and ask her all of those things.
Jamie, we are two peas from the same exact pod. I lost my mom too, so I know what it's
I'm
like.
sorry to hear that.
And then I kind of see why it makes sense that you and I like to kind of like search for things. Like we kind of do this thing, but we get really good at it, and then we're like, all right, we're good at this. Let's try something new. And then we get something new and we try for a little bit, and then it's like, let's try something new. And I think that people that lose their moms, it's almost like they're looking for this constant like rush. And once the rush kind of dissipates, they like to do something new and find the rush in something else. So it's scary, but at the same time, it's also just the way we operate.
I think being cognizant of that is really important, because I think that is something that really held me back in the past, is that I would try something and as soon as the rush was over, I would switch to something else. But as soon as the rush is over, that's when it's most important to put in as much work as possible, because on the other side of that rush is where success is. And a lot of people stop just before they're successful. So that's something that I've been working on, and something that I attribute to my ability to build community on LinkedIn, that even when I'm exhausted and even when I'm not getting that same rush or that same sparkle feeling that I got initially, I push through and it comes back. It comes in waves.
That's so amazing. I love that. I'm curious, what kind of way do you like to consume content? Do you like to use books, audiobooks, podcasts?
I really like podcasts, but I think the best way I consume content is through books. I've always loved books. I started reading at a very young age, so books have always been part of my life. I actually, for a while, had to stop reading certain types of books because I would get very attached to the characters in the book and then would think, well, I'm not going to read this book again, so I'm never going to see my friends again. So I had to sort of switch over to more educational books, but still with a storyline, because I think, like most people, I absorb content much more easily when there's a story connected to it. So I can go back to the different parts of the story when I'm trying to remember something.
100%. There's visual aspects to it, and then also the audio aspect. It just ties everything together.
Exactly.
Do you have a certain podcast that you like to go to, since you did say earlier you love podcasts?
Well, one that I've been listening to recently is Joe Rogan's podcast. I really love it because he is just so unfiltered and raw, and I like that authenticity. He's not trying to push the limits. He's just being himself. And I love the diversity of you know, the diversity of his content. There are so many different types of people that come onto his podcasts. Some amazing scientists that I've learned so much from, just people that you wouldn't have access to normally, and you get to hear him pick their brain for 2-3 hours. So it's an experience more than even just your average podcast.
Yeah, I am totally on the same boat with you. Joe Rogan's one of the best interviewers out there. I will say this, though: when you have 2.5 hours to sit down with someone, you get pretty darn good at talking to them.
Yes,
um,
definitely.
so it's a little bit different. I still think Oprah, Larry King, and my boy Jordan Harbinger, they're like the top interviewers that I've ever heard in the space. But Joe Rogan's the man. I do want to ask you, Jamie,
Yes.
what is your go-to pump up song? We gotta know.
My go-to pump up song?
Yeah.
I love the 90s. So I guess my go-to karaoke song, which pumps me up, is Two Princes by the Spin Doctors. That is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, yes. It's so funny. Do you have a favorite quote?
I have so many favorite quotes, but one that really stands out, and this is not word for word, but it's along these lines, is a quote by Muhammad Ali, where he says that, people always say you have to love the process, and I don't believe you have to love the process. And I'll explain that right after this quote. But Muhammad Ali said that he hated every single moment of his training, but when he got into the ring, all of that was worth it. And that really resonates with me because a lot of my journey has been very painful and exhausting, but sitting here where I am today, it was worth it. So I think what's important is you don't have to love every single second of your process, but you need to have little goals along the way, on the way to your big goal, so that you can find happiness in achieving those little things, those little wins, and love those parts of the process.
Are you someone who's trying to build your online presence, and you're finding out that it takes some time, a lot of time, and someone might recommend, hey, you should write a book and become an expert in that area so you're known for that one thing? Well, a book, as I've gone through it and come to find, takes a long time takes about another 1.5 years. But that doesn't mean that you can't become known for your thing. I think the best way to do this is through starting a podcast and getting a website out there that can archive all the work and the content and the area of expertise that you want to be known for. Because you want to be the go-to guy when someone thinks of, hey, I want to get in really good shape, but heck, I don't know what it's going to take. And you know that your area of supremacy, as I dub it, is to get someone into really great shape. And what if you could bring on other influencers that already have a name for themselves online onto your own podcast to create content to rank in really well, to be the go-to guy when it comes to being the enthusiast that you wish you were online, to be the influencer that you wish you were online, to be known as the expert. If you look at what's been happening in the world, it's all going towards online. So if you're still running a business and overhead's high, please reach out. Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com. And this is a service where it's a done-for-you podcast. We'll get you systematically hooked up to where you have a website, your podcast, and it really gets you on the roll to where your job is just to come in and have the fun part, which is interviewing the experts that you wish you could align yourself with more, and to start actually making some noise and disrupt this whole idea that it takes another year to get really known for your area of expertise. So if this at all interests you, just email me, Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com. Again, that's Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com. I messed up. That's why I can't I don't know why, but I think there's some people that are just so hungry, that are so thirsty, that they've actually set rules inside of their head that they cannot rest until a certain amount of sweat equity is put in, whether that be working out, whether it be putting in time into your business, or putting in time into making connections, or whatever it may be. But when you see someone, for example, my roommates would just come home and watch TV, and I'd be working my butt off, on researching more and stuff. And it was I don't think they really felt what it was like to truly relax until you've hit that threshold where you can't even think anymore. So you have to relax.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting point, because if you're always sort of just bumming around, you're never really winding down.
Exactly. You're just a winder downer all the time. So yeah, just 2 more questions for me, Jamie.
Sure.
The one is, where's one place people can find you?
Well, right now the best place to find me is on LinkedIn. So you can go to linkedin.com/in/Jaime-Cohen. And remember that my name is spelled like Jaime. So it's Jaime. And
Nice.
if you want to find me on any other social, you can find me at Jambalaya.
I love it. I'll put the LinkedIn in the show notes, so you can just simply click on that in your Apple Podcast feed, or your Stitcher feed, or your Google Play. All those super, super easy and accessible. Yeah, I can talk. It's super accessible. The last thing I'd like to ask you is, what do you think one thing people could do today? A question, because I think self-inquisitive questions are so important. They're almost more important than answers. What's a self-inquisitive question you'd like to leave some listener with right now?
I think a lot of people will say, look inside yourself to find your why. But I think that so many people are saying that it's becoming a buzzword. So I think what's a better question to ask yourself is, what are you doing right now? And how is that applying or providing value to your end goal? Because every moment matters. Time will pass whether you do one thing or another, so make sure you spend it wisely.
Ooh, that kind of hits it where it hurts, but I love the tough love. I love it. Jaime, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Logan.
So appreciate it. I love what you do, love what you stand for, your mission. I want to stay connected with you, and I know I have a feeling that we are going to stay connected because we are too alike to not. But yeah, we'll let the listeners get back to their life. And please, if you heard anything that Jaime or I said and you want to take a quote out of this and tag us in it, like it would mean the world to us. I know for sure that would mean the world to Jaime too, right? Maybe.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
That would be wonderful.
Awesome. Well, Jaime, I will say goodbye until next time.
All right. See you later.
There'll be girls across the nation that'll eat this up. Babe, I know that it's your song, but could you bottle it up? Get down to the heart of it. No, it's my heart. Your shit out of your luck. Don't make me tell you again. Woo! Love, love, love. Hey. Love, 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 love.
Oh, wow. You made it to the very end of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Scratch Your Own Itch with your host, Logan Tyler Nelson. To make it to the end, gosh, that doesn't happen very much nowadays. I mean, especially with the constant distraction. So I appreciate all of the efforts that you just took out of your day to make it to the end. And if you hit that subscribe button and leave a review, you would have no idea what that would mean to me. So thank you so much for taking the time to hit that subscribe button. And if you leave a review, check it out. Just screenshot it, send it to me, and I'd love to host your review out on the show. But don't ever forget, like I say, you matter and you're enough.
Love is the main reason for how all this happened. Love for all my fans, love for all the shows. Got love for all my memories, no matter where I go. Even if I'm out to nothing, I know there's always something. It's not a fitness test, but it'll always